Welcome, friends, to my podcast, which I call it as SwapCast. Here, you would get to listen to some inspiring, motivational short stories, and basically anything and everything under the sun to get that small dose of morale boost or slight relaxation. Let's begin today's podcast with a small chapter from a book. More information on the book will be revealed after I finish reading an interesting chapter from that book. So let's listen and enjoy. A sea of numbers and graphs floated in front of her on the computer screen, but she could make no sense of any of it. The large cuckoo clock on her office cabin wall, the only obnoxiously expensive, impulsive buy that Sheila had made in her life, ticked away, rather noisily, reminding her that it was evening already and everyone had left for home. A storm of thoughts waged inside her head. There was a deadline to prepare a convincing presentation to showcase her company's achievements in the last financial year to the stakeholders and clinch an important deal. The responsibility to give it her best shot over the weekend rested squarely on her shoulders. Sheila was the chief financial analyst for her firm. She had trained at the Yale Business School following a stellar academic career in some of the best business schools in India. Upon her return to India, she had been a coveted employee, and many firms vied for her attention. But she had settled for Agri Next, a non profit organization which promoted innovation in agriculture. Sheila had always been a quintessential philanthropist from an early age, ensuring she passed on her pencil boxes, books, and toys to needy children. The altruistic business model of AgriNext, therefore, strongly beckoned to her, though she could have demanded a heftier salary at any other multinational company. This presentation that she was struggling to prepare would have been a piece of cake on any other day, but today was different. Sheila sat at her desk, focusing hard on the numbers. There had always been minor distraction on other days. She would often forget to water the few plants she had in her balcony at home. Then she would have to call home and request her mother in law to do it for her. Her thoughts floated to her mother in law, a strong lady herself, a retired teacher. Sheila felt a moment of solace in remembering her mother in law, as she knew that she was the one person who would be by her side in what was to come. Queerly enough, she suddenly thought of the Saas Bahu sitcoms on TV and how the relationships between these women were always shown in a bad light. She uttered a silent prayer that her life was so different. Suddenly, she remembered she needed to pay the electricity bill, the phone bill, and the maid. Had she done the laundry in the morning? Sheila dismissed these mundane worries and tried to look at the graphs again. Had she read it right? A thought flashed. Her thoughts jumped again and rested on her parents. What was she supposed to tell them? Maybe a cup of coffee will help to soothe my nerves? Or would it fray them even more? Plus, I hate the runny old coffee from the machine, she thought to herself. Sheila got up, determined to do something about this funny state of her mind, grabbed her coffee mug, and moved to the cabin door. Then she muttered something to herself, replaced the mug, picked up her computer, packed her bag, and rushed to her car to drive back home. Sheila thought once home she would order a hot chicken biryani and collect her scattered thoughts. Today was a Friday and no one would be home in the evening. Her mother in law was visiting her sister, and it was a bowling night for Sheila's husband. She reached home to be greeted with a big meow and several attention seeking brushes against her leg from Jeremy, her pet cat. Sheila had found Jeremy on her stroll in New Haven, abandoned on a cold winter night in a dark alley. A meekly purring kitten, then. Jeremy had brushed against her leg the same way he did today. She had taken him in, and he had been her close confidant ever since. She strongly considered rattling out her feelings to him before she did to anyone else and calm herself. But then she realized she was famished. She hurriedly picked up her phone and browsed her favorite food ordering app. First, she ordered a biryani alone. But then at the checkout, as the app prompted her to order some much needed alcohol too, Sheila succumbed to the desire. Although there was a tangled mess of apprehension, suspicion, anger, and jealousy in her head. She set about tidying up the food till the food arrived. Sheila could afford a maid and more with the combined salaries of herself and her husband. But she categorically maintained that keeping her home clean and tidy could best be achieved by her alone. She picked up a broom and mop and cleaned till the doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of the food delivery man. As she opened the door, the hot summer night air blew in, and she was reminded that she needed to sit down and deal with the confusions in her mind that had been momentarily swept away with the frantic cleaning she had undertaken. She carefully laid out her food on the table near the sofa and sat down. Jeremy sat next to her, gently purring, hoping for some chicken to come his way. Sheila recollected what had disturbed her so much last night. Had returned home late last night from work to find her husband and mother in law already asleep. She had quietly eaten at the dinner table and decided to wind down for the day when she saw it. Her husband had the habit of writing a personal diary, and she had never read anything in it. She prided herself on the fact that she and her husband shared an open and honest relationship with nothing to hide from one another. She had never checked his emails, phones, or even his diary. That night, she saw his diary was lying on the dinner table, and curiosity nudged her to open it. Most entries were routine. In some, he had poured his heart out about the stress at work, and in the others, he had entered food or workout logs. But the entries from last week stood out. Every page showed I miss her, scribbled over and over again. Sheila's mind raced. Who did he miss? She knew he had recently bumped into his college girlfriend at an office party. He had shared his past with Sheila, and she knew they had dated for about 2 years before parting ways, as the woman had decided to move to another city for work. It must be her, she had thought. You just heard a part of Sheila's story. She is otherwise strong and focused woman who is tormented by a note she chances upon in her husband's personal diary. The cryptic note taunts her unendingly until she discovers the humble truth behind the simple sentence. To discover the reality behind the note and to hear more short stories that reveal a slice of the lives of contemporary women like Sheila, tune into my podcast, or should I say, SwapCast. These stories are from the book All True Women by Dr. Shalaka Samant. The stories are of Sheila, Sania, Sophia, Sumitra, and Sakhi. These five women are educated and independent, and like all other women of today, they fret, they fume, they fumble, they falter, and they fight. These tales chronicle the frequent struggles and rare triumphs that are inseparable part of any woman's life. They take you through the various emotions that pervade the routines of all women, young and old, rich and poor, entitled and deprived. Hope you will find time to enjoy this simple, enjoyable, and very relatable stories. The book is available on Amazon as an ebook and paperback. The links to these books on Amazon are given in the description link. Do read the book and enjoy. Also, in some time, we would be coming up with the audiobook of the same. Till then, happy reading and do tune into SwapCast whenever you need that dose of happiness and relaxation. Till then, your host and host, Swapnil T, signing off. Adios, amigos.